And hello again, everybody. It's Dan Sixsmith here. We're at the Sales Enablement Summit in Dallas, Texas, and I'm happy to have with me Sheevaun Thatcher from RingCentral, and welcome to our Sales is King video, Sheevaun.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what you do, what your role is, and what you're working on of interest.
So I run sales enablement at RingCentral, and as such, I have a team, and our job is to make sure that the salespeople have all the tools and the messaging and the wordsmithing in order to help our customers buy from us. So I liken it to a bowling alley, that we give all the salespeople a ball, and as they throw it, we put the bumpers up. So no matter whether they're very good or they're not, they're always going to take a pin down, and they're always going to move forward.
I love that. That's great. It was just in a book that I read too. I'm trying to remember which one it is. So how many sellers are involved? And this is a worldwide?
It's worldwide. We've got about 3,000 sellers, and they vary from folks that sell to single office, single person, all the way to an enterprise team that sells into the big companies.
Amazing. That's so good. So give me a couple of key takeaways from this event so far for you.
Well, a couple of things that I've seen is that there seems to be a consistent understanding that we have to transform the organizations. We have to change the conversation. That the conversations that salespeople have had for decades, where it's all around me and in fact, when I started RingCentral, it was the same thing. It's all about RingCentral and our technology and our product and all of that. And that's not what customers are looking for.
Right.
They need solutions, but they need you to help them understand how those solutions are going to fix the issues and the pain points that they've got and the compelling events they're struggling with.
Exactly. And one of the things that we keep hearing about is that buyers are looking for sales to be more of a strategic advisor.
Much more.
Right?
You must provide insight.
A subject matter expert.
Yeah.
Because that's the way you build trust and credibility. There was this study from USC. It was the top 10 reasons why buyers reject salespeople. The number one reason was trust, as you might imagine. And obviously by coming across as a subject matter expert, strategic partner, someone that has the buyer's best interests at heart.
That's the critical piece right there, is that the conversation should be about the buyer, not about the seller. And so that's what's really changed, is that by the time the sellers the buyers come to us, they're already, I would venture to say, probably 70% through the buyer's journey, because of the advent of all the technology that we've got. By the time they come to us, what they're looking for is a differentiator for you as a company to say, you understand my issues, I want to work with you, and you can help me solve my problems. Exactly.
And that's another key thing that came up. So because they're doing all this research online, you do have to come up with some insights, something different, right? So they don't want to hear what they've already heard or what they've already gathered on the website. They want something that's a commercial insight or a case study or something like that. So when you're teaching the team this new way, what are you using? What sort of methodology, or how is it being received, and how do you get them to make this change?
Well, it really starts at the top, right? We have to change the message itself. The message has to be about the customer. The go-to-market strategy has to be about the customer, and where you put the customer first. Then you've got to take all of your assets, all your collateral, all of that, and change that so it's not product focused. It's about how do you help the customer solve their problem. Then you've got to make that material available to the sales reps at just the right time in the process. Because what happens is these people start creating these systems, lots and lots of assets, and collateral, and videos, and everything else, and the reps are inundated and don't know what to use, when, and how. And so part of our process is make sure they're available, but make sure they're available when the seller actually needs them, as opposed to trying to dump all of this on them and say, here's all your tools, use the ones at the right time. Like, which one? I don't know. So that's a lot of it, right, is to map it to the journey. And then at the end of that is to make sure that you can get the tribal feedback. You can get that knowledge, what's working, what's not working. And when you discover what is working, make sure that's proliferated throughout the company so that all salespeople can take advantage of it. You also make the really good sellers into mentors, which is critical nowadays. And then the things that aren't working, you can stop them. You fail fast. Right? Stop now, stop using it. Let's turn on a dime and do it. We've got the technology, we've got the capability of doing that now, which we didn't have before.
Absolutely. How about dealing with these buying committees and the consensus building. How are you guys handling that, and what sort of successes are you having? Because we're hearing anywhere from between 5.4 to 7.2 as the average number of decision makers in these buying committees. So how are you helping the team to navigate that landscape?
We're teaching them how to be curious.
Oh yeah.
Is
So good.
ask the questions, right? In the discovery process, again, don't have an agenda. Go in there and ask these people at all stages, all members of the committee, because they all have something that they are looking for, is find out what that is. And when you find out what that is, then you can craft what it is you want to get back to them to make sure that it's addressing their issues. Now, you can always do the, do you want fries with that? Right? That's all. We all want to do that a little bit. But make sure that the main conversation is about their needs, their requirements, what's going to make them successful. Because as far as I'm concerned, when you talk about selling, once you've sold it, you're only partway there.
So true.
There's the selling, there's the implementation, there is the retention, all of that. So the sales process isn't until you've sold it and you move on to the next one. It's you sell it and then you figure out how to make sure the support is there so that you back up all the claims that you can make.
That's so great, and I agree wholeheartedly. It's all about the customer experience, and the customer experience, starts very early in the marketing phase of things, but it has to continue.
It's got to continue
throughout. One of the amazing things that I found was somewhere along the lines of research that a lot of these buyers, well, first of all, we hear that they're more empowered, great, but they're also more confused. They have a lot of different choices. But what I also saw was this stat that a large percentage of them are second-guessing themselves after they have already signed the deal. So I think what you're saying is so relevant. It's, make sure you show them, hey, this was the right decision. We're going to follow you through this. We're with you every step of the way.
Well, it's the buyer's remorse, right? I mean, and you get that whether you're buying a car or a pen or, like that old sell me the pen. Whether you're buying a car or a pen or any of that, it's the buyer's remorse. And the only way that you can help people deal with that is to make sure that, A, if they're not risk takers, that you present them with the customer stories for other people that have gone first. Right? If they are risk takers, you explain to them why taking that risk could be a big benefit for them. Right? They get to help craft where their company and the product is going. They get to help set the stage in their market space. Right? They could potentially become a leader in their market space.
Absolutely.
So it's competitive advantages for them as well.
Right, and that was another huge one in the study. It was the seller didn't understand the buyer's risk in moving forward. So those are some very key things. The other thing sometimes we work on is showing them the risk of standing still. Because oftentimes you're kind of fighting against the status quo more so than the competition. A couple of last questions. What would be the key change you're advocating for your team going into 2018?
For my team is sales enablement, or for the customers?
For the sales team.
For the sales team?
Yeah. What's the key change that they need to make going into 2018?
The key change they need to make is, again, that conversation. Right? We're teaching them how to do it. It's still in its infancy, but it's teaching them about the industries, the verbiage, right? Even things like glossaries of terms. Right? A lot of companies don't have that. And we just brought some in because you think of new people, it doesn't matter the market that they're in, is what is the terminology that your customers understand? So rather than using your way of doing it, understand what the customer says and what they mean by those words. And you find that out by having those discussions. And so being open, being curious, and saying, okay, when you say this, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
Right? What do you ideally want to have happen? How have you thought about getting there? Right? How can we help you get there? So it's having those conversations.
So smart. Last question. I sat through a great track yesterday on social selling.
Yeah, Jill Rowley. And her team.
Yeah, awesome.
She's amazing.
Tell me about how you guys are leveraging social selling. How do you define it, and how are you guys putting it into practice?
Well, social selling with us happens in a number of different ways. There is actually a group called RingSocial at RingCentral where they put some of these packages together. They get it all set up for us. So the tweets are there, the LinkedIn messages and everything else, and all you have to do is share. Right, so that's
awesome.
It makes it dead easy. Yeah. Now, from a selling perspective, we use LinkedIn Navigator. We use some of these social selling tools that allows us to really understand who it is that we're selling to, and how to connect and do all of that. We've got a program running now that we call Connect the Dots, where within the company itself, like for example, I have 2,300 connections on LinkedIn. Right. some of those, it's already happened a couple of times where our AEs have come to me and said, I'm trying to work with this company. I see you're connected with so-and-so. What can you tell me about them? And so it's been really effective that way. And it's been effective getting introductions. It's been effective in a lot of ways because a lot of folks, like I think about me at my work, right? My phone just has a red light blinking all the time. I don't answer my phone anymore. So cold calling isn't going to work. But referencing does. And that's where social selling comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing that I took away from it was the value of the research you can do. Following the buyer or the company. What are they sharing? What's top of mind?
Right.
How can you kind of, when you do get to the plate, how can you make it as relevant as possible?
Well, like the industry that they're in. Do research on the industry because you can come in and say, are you aware, for example, that the federal government is coming out with this new regulation? How are you prepared to handle it? That's the kind of thing where maybe they know about it, maybe they don't. But in any case, they're going to go, tell me more. Right? Which gives you the opportunity and the right to speak with them.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, this has been a delight. It's been great to meet you. How do the people kind of follow you on social? What are your Twitter handles?
My Twitter handle is Sheevaun T. It's just SheeVaunt. And on LinkedIn, it's just, you can just find me on Sheevaun Thatcher and, connect.
Awesome. Great. So glad to have you.
Thanks,
Enjoyed it.